So let's go into a demo. In this demo, we're going to learn quite a bit about PowerShell. We're going to learn about the get help command. We're going to learn about piping. We're going to learn about the $ and doing selects and the where clauses. And we're also going to learn on how to get SharePoint PowerShell commands available to us in PowerShell ISE. Additionally, we're going to use some of the, not just the SharePoint commandlets, but we're going to create some SharePoint structure, for example, sites and lists. And we're also going to see how to remove that structure when we're done. So let's go into a demo. We're going to start by finding Microsoft PowerShell. And notice that the first result that comes back is Windows PowerShell ISE. ISE stands for Integrated Scripting Environment. Right in front of us is a command window. And on the right, we have a help window that lets us filter commands by module and then get more specific information about certain commands. I'm going to start, though, in the command window. And we're going to type get help. And notice that if I type slower, you can see how IntelliSense is actually helping us figure out which command we want to type. So I can just complete it by using tabs. And then I'm going to type get help SP. SP is in wildcards. So we're looking for anything that has to do with SharePoint. And the list that comes back is pretty short. In fact, we can count it by piping the output to measure object commandlet. And you can see that the entire list is only 21 items. Certainly, that's not what we expected out of SharePoint. So how do we get the SharePoint commands in here? We do add PowerShell snap-in, and we'll type in Microsoft.SharePoint PowerShell. And it looks like the snap-in is in place. And if I go up and run the get help SP command again and measure object, we should get a different set of results back. And sure enough, you can see that 792 is the result now versus only 21 commandlets. What we should also do is refresh the commands help here. And you'll notice that now there's a module, Microsoft SharePoint PowerShell. And there's lots and lots of commands that are related to SharePoint that we can have access to. But for now, let's get back to our normal window. I'm going to type GCM. And this is how we can find out that GCM is really just an alias for a get command. Just like if we type GCM echo, you can see that echo is an alias for write output. Another thing we're going to learn about is that we can actually filter our result sets. So I'll do get command, SP, and then I'll pipe it to a where. And in where, I'll do $. And notice we can filter, for example, by the command type. So I'll say command type match commandlet. And I'll pipe that to measure object. And you can see that our count is a bit different from what we've got before. So what other command types are there besides commandlet? Well, we can see that there's also an application one. So if I do a match application, I can see all the commands that have a SP in them that are of command type
application. I can do something even more interesting. So let's go up to my commandlet selection. And in here, I'm going to do an AND. We're going to do a $sign again. Module name, match, Microsoft, SharePoint, PowerShell, and we'll measure that. And so I did do something a little bit wrong. So I did module, and specifically, we're actually looking for module name. So we can always go up and fix the line. And you can see that the number of results that came back is 771. So we narrowed down the query further versus the other time we're getting 788 results, where we're just looking for SP, that's commandlet. And now we know that there is 771 commandlets that are coming out of Microsoft SharePoint PowerShell module name. Every time we open PowerShell ISE right now, we're going to have to type in add PS snap-in to get all the Microsoft SharePoint commandlets in there. Another option is we have a script that can be run, and we're going to open up the script. And the script is under Microsoft PowerShell profile. So here's our script. And you can see what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that PS snap-in is always added when PowerShell ISE gets started. When we test a script, we can always do a selection of that script and just execute just that selection. Or if we want to run the entire script, we say run script or F5. And you can see that the entire script ran. Now let's close PowerShell ISE. And since I have it pinned to my taskbar, I can just start it from here. And if you look in the modules, you can see that Microsoft SharePoint PowerShell is already loaded for us the next time we're going to use it. Our next goal is to write some script that's going to use SharePoint commandlets to create some SharePoint content. And what I'm going to do is the command that I'm going to use is to do with web template. So specifically, this is the command that we're looking at. Get a template. Well, I'm just going to start typing it in here, SP web template. And you can see that I could have just used IntelliSense to tell me what the command is. And I'm going to add a where clause. And in this where clause, I am going to look for title. And we're going to say title matches blank site. And we're going to use an or title match team site. And we'll return everything. We're going to pipe it to a group. And we're going to group by name. And let's just press enter. And you can see that the results came back, and we can see that the templates, the team site is STS bound 0, and blank site is STS bound 1. So I'm going to take this line and just copy it into my script that I'm creating. So I'm just going to put it as the first line here. And notice that if I want to execute this line again, I can simply just run the entire script, or as we'll see later, we'll be able to run just the portions of it. Let's save the file, so the script file, and we'll call it create SharePoint content. And so you can see the name right there. The next command that I want to use deals with spweb. So that represents a SharePoint site. And you can see that there's a new spweb command. And what I can do is I can actually start typing parameters in here. So I'll do ABC University and SA projects. So that's my URL parameter. Notice that add to top nav is clicked there, and use parent top nav, we're also going to check that. Then for the template, we're going to provide one of the STS values, and we'll do STS #1. And for the name, we're going to do SA projects. We can insert this line right into our command window, and then let's run it. And we're waiting for the results to come back. And so we get the result that comes back is the URL of the site that we just created. And we can go into SharePoint and actually verify that the site is there. And you can see there is SA projects. And when I click on it, you can see that it's based on a blank site template, as there is no content in it right now. So let's copy this line as well. And sometimes selecting it is a bit tricky. So we'll copy this line into our script. And one of the things that we're going to do after we copy this line a couple times, so we're going to create multiple sites. And so under SA projects, we're going to create a completely different site, and that's going to be Project A. And then we're going to create another one called Project X. And so let's name this Project X and Project A. And for one of the templates, we're going to choose a different template. So we'll do 0. And another thing that might be useful is putting out null. This way we won't get any results back after it executes. So we already created the first site that we have. And what I'll do now is just execute the two lines of code that we haven't run yet. So that's going to be Project A and Project X. And this time, instead of clicking the Run Script button, we're going to use the Run Selection. And that's going to execute just those two lines. And we'll wait until those complete. And notice that one of the options was ignored, add to top nav. And that's because the parent is already using the top navigation bar. So you can see that this option is not necessary. It would only be necessary if SA projects wasn't using the top link bar. So let's go ahead and save. And let's take a look at the results. So if we refresh the page, notice that underneath SA projects, there is Project A and Project X. And one of them is using Team Site template. And the other one is using the blank site template. So those are our sites. Now let's go back to PowerShell and let's create some more content. So once we have our basically our websites, one line that I'm gonna run here is start SP assignment, and I'm gonna use global. And what this line will do is it will properly dispose of all the SP websites when we're done with them. And this is where we're actually going to get the SP website. I'm going to declare a variable, just call it W, and I'm going to type a get SP web. So let's try it. Get SP web, and for the SP web, I'm going to pass in the identity, and this is going to be our ABC University SA projects, and then we'll do project A. So that gets the project A, and it puts it in the variable W. At this point, I can create new content in this particular site. So we'll do W, and you can see that we can select lists, and we're going to add a list. And specifically, we're going to add project tasks list, and the description is going to be empty, and then it's going to be a tasks. And let's fix the single quote, and let's run this line. And you can see that the list was added. So let's go ahead and let's check what we have. So if we go to project A and click on site contents, so there you go, there's project tasks list that we have here. All right, so let's copy some of these commands into our script. So we'll take start assignment. It makes sense for this command to be in there. Then we'll also do getting our website, and then we'll start adding content to our website. So we'll do the following. So we're adding lists. One of the things that we can do after we add a list, we can actually get that list. So for example, we can declare a variable, and I can just type we can just type in here, and then we'll execute that particular portion of the code. So we'll say the variable is L, and L is lists, and specifically we're going to get the project tasks list. So that gets us a particular list. So let's just run this and see what we get. So now our project tasks list is in that variable. Then we can do things like L, for example, title, and set that equal to something else, like project A tasks. And then we just need to do L update. So let's go ahead. Let's take these two lines. Let's execute them. And let's check what happened to the list. And you can see that we updated the title of the list. Now let's go back to PowerShell, and let's create a document library as well. So we'll do W again, and we'll say lists. add, and we'll say project documents. Say document library. And we won't have to update. And at the end, I'm just going to say stop SP assignment. And we're going to do a global. So let's try that. Let's execute. And generally, by adding out to null, we won't see an output of that particular line. So we can go ahead and save it. Now let's go back to our site. Let's click on Site Contents. And certainly you can see project documents in here. So we were able to create some sites and to create some contents within those sites. Now what about removing the content that we created? So we're going to start a new file, and we're going to save it as remove SharePoint content. So we'll save that file. And the command, again, if we just type spweb, and I unfortunately just tried to execute a new website, but let's make sure I'm in here, and we're going to look for remove spweb. And so that's the command that we're trying to get. And you can see that remove spweb is available to us, and here's all the parameters. By the way, if you want to see an example of a particular command, you can type get help remove spweb, and for example, type in examples, and you'll see an actual example of how to use a particular command. You can see it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Pressing F1 would do the same thing. It would just bring us to the help window. So let's do remove spweb, and we're going to start by removing ABC University SA projects. Project A, which is just PA. And then we'll just run this line 3 times. Remove project X, and we'll remove SA projects. And so let's execute. And we're going to save the script. And there's a confirmation for each single one. If we wanted to, we can say the confirm is equal to false. So you notice that there's a confirm. So notice that if I insert that, we can do confirm, and we can pass false. So this way we wouldn't have to confirm. And if we go to ABC University, you can see that SA projects has completely gone. And we can verify that by going to Site Contents, and you'll see that there is no SA projects underneath here.
Now that you've seen the demo, hopefully you understand some of the basics about the various options that we have in PowerShell and how to use PowerShell ISE. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be using many PowerShell commandlets later in the course.